What's up guys, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I bring you news for months in SaGa Universe. They just announced a server maintenance that will happen on 29th of January, start of reset time to 5 hours later, and this will address the issue regarding errors in ability description for certain styles in English. What happened that caused the bug with all the anomalous jewels and everything else, so they will compensate all the cumulative bonus rewards for the emergency maintenance as well. That's quite a lot of time, right? 7 days after something happened, but at least now we have a date, and let's hope that they address the situation the best way possible. They also announced the Remembrance Festival Firebringer banner, a banner that we were expecting that brings SaGa Scarlet Grace styles, and we have all the information about this banner already on Reddit. As always, posted by Hands43. Thank you so much for doing this amazing job. And well, we have something here. Only Urpina got buffed for real. All the other ones are very similar to what they were before, with some global changes based on past skills. Well, Firebringer is a damage dealer but also a debuffer. 120% STR is good, but not the highest we have seen, because he wanted 100% intelligence to apply debuffs. His endurance and will are pretty nice, with 93% and 91% respectively, and his agility could have been higher since the buffers want to go before the enemies. Love and charisma take a hit because he wanted too much. By the start of a turn, he has a 37% chance to enter evasive stance. That means that all attacks and even ailments geared towards him will be negated. By the end of a turn, if he's dead, he always revives with around 2000 HP. That's right. Then, when attacking, he has a chase called Flame Servant. Single target, S power, slash and heat. And it carries a chance to debuff the enemy STR and intelligence by 5%. That's a guaranteed chase. And you still have a 50% chance to chase again with Flame Servant, trying to debuff the enemy STR and intelligence again by 5%. So you either debuff 5 or 10% if you get a double chase. And that allows him to do very good damage because it's extra attacks. By the start of the fight, he grants this passive to the whole squad that will be permanent and gives 1 BP when attacking with heat attacks. That's the same thing that Saruin does. And if you saw before, Ruby had the other part of Saruin, increasing damage of the squad by 50% when using heat attacks, and Firebringer is all about just giving more BP. He does get heat up with Elemental Enhance, reaching 150% damage increase after 5 turns. He then gets under 20%, and when he's attacked, he reduces damage taken by 30%, and if he resists, he reduces it further by 40%. So he is a pretty resistant character and a leader for heat squads. You can bring people like Polka and Aspergal, for example, because Polka and Aspergal has chance to chase. If they chase, they will get even more BP, and they will be able to use their best skills more often. And Aspergal can even generate more BP, so you will always have enough to use best skills. Skill number 1 is a 1 BP deep power attack with slash and heat damage that recovers HP by around 250. Well, it's just very cheap. The second one, it's a 5 EP C power support recovery reviver that can be used only once per battle, but at least it's AoE. And since it's fast, it will revive people that died on the past turn and recover their HP for probably around 2000, and grant up this guard up large that decreases damage taken by 35%, lasts for 3 turns. Guard up does not stack with other guard ups, but most of the characters are now just applying defense boosts anyway. So this is an emergency button that you use when you feel like you are close to death or when someone died and you need to protect a little over the next turn. Then the third skill is a 10 BP triple S power attack with slash in heat, and it's also fast, and it grants morale medium to the target and lasts for 3 turns. So that's actually pretty nice because you can just use this skill every 3 turns to keep the morale medium effect that decreases damage taken from enemies by 25%, meaning that you are using a damage dealer that also adds party support, can act as a secondary debuffer, and even decrease damage taken. So there's a lot of good things about Firebringer. I cannot say that he is a must-have, because, well, Saruin was also a Shadow Party leader, and Although he makes squads interesting to use and all, it's not like you need him for anything besides farming. And the same case can be said for Firebringer. He's not really a very good farmer, and in free quests he doesn't have any cycle that will solo. But if you use him in squads that have at least Polka and Aspergal, and maybe some others, you get a lot of effects. But even if I can say that he's an OP grade, you don't really need him if you want to skip. Moving forward, we have Urpina, and she got some nice buffs. 118% SDR is not that great, but it's okay. She has 88 endurance and 92% will. Those are good enough volleys. Her agility is not as high, but she actually attacks more on overdrive than anything else, so that doesn't make much difference. She has a 40% damage increase on overdrive attacks, starts the fight with 14 BP to use her skill number 3, and when she attacks, she always chases with Dual Dragonfly. And this attack is from her past style. We can see it here on rsrs.xyz. Dual Dragonfly, it's slash and pierce, A power, and it grants morale down small, decreasing the damage from enemies by 15%, and also applies guard down small, that decreases their defenses by 12%. Both last for 2 turns, but they cannot stack, so even if you are reapplying it every turn, it doesn't matter much. I wish it was just attack down and defense down, but it is what it is. It's extra since it only exists on global. Then she has an OD extra attack. She activates skill number 3. That is 4 hits with C power. That's pretty strong. It is not as strong as Kihachi attack, even if you don't consider the weak defense down, but it's probably around 70 to 80% of the damage if you are using a triple S weapon, just considering raw power. Now, she also grants herself heat up, increasing damage potential by 20% on start of turn 5 times, or 100% increase by turn 5. By the end of a turn, she recovers 2 BP as well. And then we have 20% extra damage at all times, for a total max of 120%. She reduces damage taken by 40% when resisting, so she needs to be well equipped, and 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. Skill number 1 is a 2 BP E power attack that attacks randomly 2 times. This is similar to an S power attack for just 2 BP. You use this when you don't have much left. Skill number 2 is her main gameplay. You use 3 BP, and it's a support that can only be used 2 times in battle. It grants herself this dual blade technique that on the start of a turn, she activates the following: an attack boost of 50% and morale up of 40%. Both will give her an increase of 90%, but they only last for 1 turn, sadly. And dual wielding princess, a second passive. On the end of this turn, she will activate full overdrive, and she will also recover her HP by around 1.5 thousand and recover 4 BP. So all the effects will only happen once, but the passives will trigger 4 turns consecutively. That means that she will get into overdrive 4 turns straight, getting access to her extra attack with C power every time that she's attacking, alongside a 90% damage increase. She already has 120 by turn 5, and well, although she will not have as much on start, you can say that for long fights, she can actually have some very good damage, since you can use this 2 times in battle. You will use this on turn 1, and your damage will be a little lower because of not many hit ups, but you already have at least the attack and morale up. And then you will use either skill number 3 on overdrive or skill number 1 when you don't have enough BP. And then when you get to turn 6, you can use this skill again. And by that time, you already have all your hit ups, and you get the attack boost, the morale up, and you can cycle again between skill number 3 and skill number 1 on overdrive for extra damage. Just remember that she has at least 1 guaranteed chase, and she still chases on overdrive every time with 4 attacks with C power. Like I said, it's very similar to Kihachi's damage, it will be around 70% of her damage output. We're not considering the attack and morale boost. When you consider that, I believe the damage will be similar, but if you didn't have the weak defense down Kihachi, that's why she becomes super strong. But you can still at least bring people that cast under it, like Matcha in Creator. She will still increase the damage by quite a lot. And since she's mostly just Slash, she is still very inferior to Kihachi, and she has much better damage on turn 1. While Urpina is kinda easier to use since she does not need support to reach overdrive. While Kihachi does get OG points by the end of a turn, she's game breaking when you can charge every single turn. So, kinda like an inferior version, I would say that Kihachi is probably OP plus at this point, there's no competition, but this Urpina could reach OP levels when using correctly, but is still not as good. You don't need both as well. If you just want Kihachi, she can do the same things, and even better because she has cold and lightning damage as well, while Urpina is slash and sometimes pierce. Then moving on, we have Balmaint, and he is an axe damage dealer with very okay STR, just 120, and intelligence is 91% because he can also debuff. His endurance and will are just 82, those are just okay values, and nothing else here is interesting. He has a passive that decreases damage taken for the squad by 10%. He also increases damage potential of everyone by 10%. When he's equipping an axe, he increases damage potential by 20. On odd turns, he grants everyone's defense up, that decreases damage taken by another 10%, and on even turns, he recovers the HP of all allies by around 250. So, 10% guarantee, another extra 10, but only on odd turns, or a very small healing on even turns. Not that great. By the turn begins, he grants himself heat up, increasing damage potential by 20%, trigger 5 times for a max of 100% on turn 5. He also recovers 2 BP by the end of a turn. Then he also has Axe Intrinsic, allowing him to increase damage potential by 20% for a max of 120 on turn 5. Reduces damage taken when resisting by 40% and has 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. Skill number 1 is a C-Power 1 BP attack that has only slash damage, but can debuff Endurance and Dexterity from the enemy by 15% when the attack lands. That's a strange combination, Endurance and Dexterity, but if you really need Dexterity debuff and if it helps you on Remembrance, that's okay. Skill number 2 is Dimensional Break, an AoE attack with B power and 7 BP cost that can instant kill the enemies. This can be used for a Siegfried Remembrance fight, but we already have a version of Hardy that's free and also has Dimensional Break, so it doesn't really help all that much. But it's an okay attack as well to be used in other Remembrances. Skill number 3 is 9 BP cost, double S power, slash as well, and it grants morale down and guard down medium to the targets, decreasing their damage potential by 25% and decreasing their defenses as well by 25%. Lasts for 3 turns. So that's pretty okay because they don't stack, so you can prefer to use this skill on turn 1 and then maybe inherit something to use on turn 2, and then you only need to use this again on turn 3, unless he is not so fast and you want to use this every 2 turns in order to always have the effect available even if the enemy is too fast. Well, he's just a placeholder character that works for Remembrance and nothing else. You're not gonna use him on hard challenges for real. So I could say that he deserves an SS grade looking forward into the future. Moving for Taria, we have here 120% intelligence and 100% will. Those are good enough values, but nothing stellar. Endurance in 79, mages always have low values anyway. Her agility could be higher since she is someone that can also debuff. Then on turn begins, she grants this elemental guard to decrease damage taken by 2 elements, slash and heat, both by 35%. And that's for everyone. So, if a skill has both slash and heat, she will decrease that by 35% and then by another 35%. That's big, and she was designed to help you fight Firebringer challenge. Also, when being attacked, she decreases damage taken at all times by 25% and then by another 30%, 2 damage reduction passives. She gets 2 BP by the end of a turn and recovers her HP by very small effect, around 300. Skill number 1 is a code, a spell with the power that has a chance to debuff the enemy's intelligence by 15% when the attack lands. Hence why I said that she could be a little faster, but that's usually good. Then the second one is a 7 VP A power single target attack with Cold and Pierce again. That is fast. Before attacking, she grants this attack boost to everyone, increasing damage potential by 15% on max rank. So it will increase her own damage. This skill will feel a little stronger. And then after attacking, she grants this slash and heat defense up that only lasts for 1 turn. So that's actually amazing because it will stack with the other elemental guards. So if the enemy is using slash and heat attacks, you now have minus 35, minus 35, minus 35, minus 35 again. Multiplicatively speaking, you decrease damage by quite a lot. And she even gives this attack boost. 7 VP is not that high since she gets 5 per turn, and if you are using people like Charade to give VP, you would not have problems. Then skill number 3 is a C power single target attack with Cold and Pierce again, that attacks 2 times randomly and recovers the HP for each hit, for an average of around 600 healing. Not great. I prefer to use the second skill. Even if you are just defending versus either hit or slash, you are defending pretty well. So that's her main gameplay. And when you don't have enough EP, you can debuff intelligence, but that's kind of like the best stuff for this Taria. She's not really a must-have for the fight. She does help make it easier and can use it here and there, but essentially, running Liz is better because Liz has defense boost that decreases damage taken by 25% for all elements. She can trigger 4 times in a row. And you have 4 stacks. And, well, if the enemy is not hit or slash, Taria is kind of useless. You will not be using her outside of those situations. She's a specialist, hence why I think she only deserves an SS plus grade. As for Leonard, well, he is a strange one. He doesn't have very high status besides endurance being on 108%, his STR is 115, his will is 88, that's not bad, just average, and agility being 87%. Well, he has 20% damage increase at all times. On start of the fight, he grants himself this fighting superior. When you perform a direct attack, you will buff your STR and endurance by 15%. And when you receive a direct attack from the enemy, you will grant yourself a heat up. That increases damage potential by 15% up to 5 times per battle. That's actually pretty good because he can apply this to the party as well. By the end of a turn, he also recovers 1 BP and then again another for a 5. Slash attack damage increases for all allies by 30%. Well, most greatsword users will have at least slash attacks, so that is good. He then have G-Sword Finese, increasing his damage potential by 30 and reducing damage taken by 30% as well. So, at least he does have a way to keep buffing his endurance and will. He does have good resistance. He does not have as much damage potential on start, being on 30, but then he gets up to another 75% when being attacked by direct attacks. He's a little specific, yes, he will be used in fights where the enemies like to use physical attacks and direct ones. Skill number 1 is a 2BP E power attack that attacks 2 times randomly and it is critical to human. At least he has slash and blunt damage. The good thing is that it feels more like an S power attack, and it's very cheap. The second one is a 7 VP support skill. It's not fast, but it's AoE and can only be used 1 time per battle. It gives you a charge of the fighting superior. So, he himself will have 2 charges of this, meaning that when he uses a direct attack, he will be buffing his STR and endurance by 30%, and he can get as much as 150 hit up % from being attacked. But everyone in the party gets at least that 15% STR and endurance when attacking, and at least 75% hit ups after 5 times they get hit by direct attacks. Why this is good? You can bring him to help when you are running counter specialists. For example, let's use this and Julian together, for example. he will be then helping the party by quite a lot, and every time that Julian counters, he will just self-buff more. He will also get more hit-ups, allowing him to be faster when doing damage. Well, it's not just for when you are running Julian or Yuma Mayu, for example. It works for many fights, as long as the enemy likes to use direct attacks, either single targets or AoEs. Then we have skill number 3, an 8 PP 3-hit or 4-hit attack with E-Power that has Slash and Blunt. When using Triple S power weapon, this is actually pretty nice, as it feels more like a Triple S or 4S power attack that has Slash and Blunt, and since he gets 5 PP per turn, he can cycle between skill 3 and skill 1 after he casted his support. It's a very interesting type of support that helps counter specialists be better. It's not really mandatory, but it's good enough that people will want to use him in some specific situations. You can even, for example, use him to increase Urpina or even Kihachi's damage, depending on how the enemy's attacks and everything else. You can increase your damage output. Well, I do believe that right now he deserves a Triple S grade, but we'll be moving down since he's too much of a specialist. But please say here in the comment section what you think. I'm still undecided about this guy. So, this banner is okay to pull, because we have 5 different styles, and there are no off banners. Firebringer is a safe character to pull if you want to use him. He is nice, especially if you have Aspergal or Polka, for example. Urpina is a strong damage dealer, but not better than Kihachi. But you can use the Rear Guard focus formation and place both in the back row, and they would just destroy the enemies. You will not need both, but it will be fun to have. And then I do believe that you can find utility on Leonard, and here and there Taria. The worst one here is Balmaint. I could say this banner gets a silver award, generally speaking, but some would say a silver plus. I'm undecided about this as well, so please say here in the comment section your feedback. But it's also a skippable banner, especially if you don't care much about Firebringer. He's not the best type of damage dealer, not the best type of debuffer as well. He's just a overall supporter with utility. And if you got Kihachi, you don't need Urpina. And you don't need Leonard, to be honest, since, well, Julian and Yuma Mayu work by design. You don't need extra help. But if you got these units, you'll find some utility in them. But they won't last for too long, as we are moving too fast with power creep. But that's all my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to support the channel, you can use the links on the description. I see you soon in the next video or live stream. Bye.